where's my me? Like, I need support sometimes. I need someone to help me. And where's my me? Like, I need someone too. You can't always be the bigger person. You can't do that forever. You can't. Not expecting things to change, you can't. But if you can't go either, then what do? We're going to have to split the difference. So in the context of your spouse, when I expect you to be loving or sober or reliable or present, and you've never actually really shown me those things consistently over time, I'm essentially setting myself up to be crushed. Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt, still playing with the practice squad. You got me for another week, but it's going to be worth it. Please stick around. Today we're going to be covering what's underlying just about every question that we ever get, and that's, should I stay or should I go? We've actually done an episode on this, but it's been a long time. My thoughts have changed about it a little bit. There's some things I was afraid to say then that I'm not afraid to say now. Kind of grown as a personality on the internet. And when you're fresh, you're not sure what you can say and not say before people come after you. But I think I know what the line looks like now, or at least I think I do. I suppose that we're about to find out. But it's going to be a really, really good episode. This is hands down the number one question that we get from partners and spouses of people that struggle with addiction. I see it in our DMs. I hear it in our community, and I've lived close enough to it to know myself exactly why it's such a damn heavy question that we ask ourselves. It's the one question that keeps people up at night, staring at the ceiling. It's the question that you whisper to yourself when you're sick of the lies after the argument, after the chaos, the apologies that don't mean anything. And sometimes it's the question that you already know the answer to that you just don't want to say out loud. Before we get started with the episode, thank you to SoberLink, our partner for the show. SoberLink has been amazing. And in the beginning, I wasn't exactly sure if they would be a fit. And it's kind of tricky because our thing has always been it's behaviors. But as we will discuss in this episode, there are some things that you have to see for yourself. And I think as a spouse or a partner, the greatest gift that you can ever be given is trust. It's accountability and it's visibility. Trust is lost in buckets and it's earned in droplets. And it takes a very long time to reestablish and rebuild trust. So if you're someone like me and you're trying to get sober and you're trying to do the deal, chances are your words have lost meaning because you've said everything. You've claimed that you were going to fix this on your own more times than you can count, and you might be on your last chance. What can be different this time is SoberLink. You voluntarily get this device. You put skin in the game. You are no longer just making people trust your word, which is essentially worthless, right? You've got a really bad credit rating. If there was such a thing, a credit rating on your word, yours is 500, you're 400 credit. You are subprime paper, as one of my professors once put it. And SoberLink can help rebuild that credit and rebuild that trust, because when you get it, you are not only signing up to be tested as to whether or not you're using this substance, alcohol, you're actually going to be alerting people every time that you do use it. You're going to sign up to use this thing 3 or 4 times a day. You're going to blow into it and they're going to get instant notifications and they're going to know that you're doing the deal or you're not doing the deal. So if you're as serious as you say, then what's stopping you from proving it and getting a device to show? It's also got facial recognition technology. It's tamper proof, so you can't screw with it or fake the results. This thing is the real deal. It's a gift that you give your loved ones. I think that more than anything, what spouses and partners want, the question they ask us all the time, and it breaks my heart, is how do I trust them again? Man, it's a long road back, but this can definitely speed it up. It's something that if I'd have known about back then, I would have absolutely volunteered to get to show, because I was that serious about changing. I'll get one of these things, and here we go. Now, cost has been a factor for a lot of people. SoberLink is essentially eliminating that. No more upfront costs. When you sign up for a qualified plan, like a 1-year subscription, you can rent the device for $19 a month. You have no more excuses as to why not to get one of these things. And if you use our link, soberlink.com/wheels, they will send you a $100 Visa gift card as a rebate to apply toward your monthly plan costs. So it drops the price of that as well. It has never been easier to get into one of these devices. Let's say that you're a spouse or partner and you're just done. This episode isn't exactly applicable to you because you're done. You know that you're done. You don't have to question if you should stay or go anymore. It can be there for you too, long term, because you still have children involved and they're going to have to be around that person that struggled with alcohol. Well, how can you ensure your kids are going to be safe? At the very least, you can make sure that the person is sober. You can get these written into your custody agreements. The court can even enforce them. They are court admissible in all 50 states and in Canada and are trusted by over 200,000 clients. So whether you're trying to rebuild trust, you're someone like me, and you're really trying to show people that you're serious this time, or you're someone who's just trying to protect their family, SoberLink is there for you. Check us out, soberlink.com/wheels. While you're on the internet, hop over to twfo.com and check out our website. You can find our program, Independently Strong, a program that we built with a licensed therapist to help walk you through the process of making this decision. Should I stay or should I go? And you can get 75% off that course using the code WHEELIES75. You can also get merch. You can get recovery rocks. Recovery rocks are a really cool way to acknowledge the journey that someone else has walked with you through recovery. You can get those there. We've got some new sweatshirt designs over here on the wall, which I will not reveal yet, but we're in the works right now. I'm excited about these things. I think you all will be too. And you can sign up for our free newsletter. You can find our free Facebook community specifically for listeners of the show and many other things that we do. What we're about, all of our episodes, you name it, it's all there. So let's move on to the episode. Let's get this thing done. I think I missed some things, but I'm kind of over it. I want to get to this topic. This one's really been thinking about this throughout the day. And I want to preface a lot of this by saying I'm not going to hand you some one size fits all solution. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. And any creator on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram that claims they have one is wrong. They don't live your life. End of story. Everyone's situation is a little bit different, and you are going to have to discern for yourself. But I hope that at the end of this, you've gotten some clarity so you can start to make those decisions, because they're really, really tough. But I'm going to tell you the truth about what staying really means. I'm going to tell you the truth about what leaving really means and how to survive when leaving is not an option. That's something I didn't add the first time that I'm going to add this time. And if you're watching this, you see my eyes cutting down. I listened back to our last episode and I was all over the place. I've always prided myself on not writing anything and just speaking to the camera based on what I feel and what I think. But turns out my head's not exactly the most organized place in the world. And so I've got some notes in front of me, an outline, if you will, not like word for word what I'm going to say, but I've got an outline here that I'm going to follow. It's going to make it easier for you to listen. It was painful for me to listen to that last one. Listen, I'm still trying to figure out how to be a storyteller and a podcaster. So stick with me. But I think we should open the conversation by it's a simple question that I asked when I started to sit down and really think about this is, why do we tolerate so much? What are the reasons that we tolerate so much from people? I can think about, my own relationship and why Paige dealt with me for so long and all of my empty promises and my shit behavior over the years. And I think about relationships that I've been in where I've tolerated so much shit from people. I think that it boils down to a few things. We'll get into some of the evolutionary and biological reasons for this, but don't you just expect you out of people? I think that's my biggest flaw, is that I expect me out of people. And I keep waiting around for them to do what I would do. We talked about how hopium is essentially just projecting what you would do in someone else's shoes onto them and just waiting for them to actually deliver on what you would do. And most people never do. Spoiler alert, that's just the way it works. But I think that's kind of what's underneath it is I expect me out of people. And I just think if I can convey the message, if I can be a better leader and a better example of those behaviors that I would like to see, then I will get the same thing back. Most people just don't care that much, as it turns out. Unfortunately, that's the reality. That's just the reality of life. And this isn't just your partner or spouse. This is like coworkers and your bosses and anyone. This is just how people roll in general. So why do we stay? Why do we put up with so much, tolerate so much, hope for so long when the evidence is screaming the opposite? There's actually a biological reason for this. As human beings, we're wired for connection. At one point in our history, this was about survival. We survived in tribes and in packs. And a human out in the Serengeti was not going to last very long on their own. They just weren't. We are wired to connect with people. Oxytocin is a hormone often called the love hormone that is released whenever we bond with people. This is This is in breast milk when a mother is feeding her young. I mean, we are set up for this. Like quite literally, we have mechanisms inside of our body to help bond with other people. This is why we survive in communities and in packs. So we needed attachment for safety at some point, and for raising children and for building community. And the wiring just didn't disappear because we got phones and screens in front of us. It's still within us. And it is never going to go away. I would imagine if it does, it's going to take a very, very, very long time, and much less people around. People would have to survive more independent for a very long period of time. But that's why you'll fight like hell to keep a relationship alive, even when it's destroying you. And because on some primal level, I think that being alone feels like death. And the brain treats rejection the same way that it does physical pain. It literally hurts when we're rejected. It literally hurts when someone shuns us or doesn't consider us or doesn't respect us or doesn't give us the time of day, doesn't validate us. Like it literally hurts. We want to cure that hurt. We want to feel safe again. So we will strive for connection. We don't talk a lot about attachment theory, but there is some scientific basis to attachment theory. I think that Freya India has one of the greatest takes on attachment theory that I've ever heard. She's an amazing writer. You should check her stuff out. I think Paige has posted her take on attachment theory. The problem with attachment theory is that some people try to, like when your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Not every problem can be solved by attachment theory. There are some people that are just not meant to be in relationships. And the more that you try to fix yourself by saying, oh, it's just my anxious attachment, or it's just his avoidant style, or maybe vice versa, the more that you're taking away the language from real incompatibility or actual abuse or problems within a relationship. If someone has cheated on you, it's not your anxious attachment that makes you want to stay in that relationship. It is your need for connection. And that's what we're getting at here. That's why it's so hard to leave. Like, what is wrong with wanting to be in a relationship? What is wrong with wanting to be desired or loved by someone? What is wrong with wanting to rely on somebody? Like, the language almost makes it sound like it's a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that all attachment theory is just baloney, but I think a lot of it's misapplied, and I think a lot of it's bullshit the way that people use it. Just my take on it, because I've seen it weaponized and bastardized, and I've seen people take it and run with it, and it breaks my heart to see people that are wanting connection from someone who is not offering that, as we will get to, not interested, not compatible. They're abusive, they're dismissive, maybe they're narcissistic, and you think that there's something wrong with you that needs to heal. No, that is not the case. That is not the case. So when we get rejected, when someone isn't quite meeting our expectations and we want connection, our first instinct is generally to wait, to hope, to believe that they'll change. And the first step is like, if I just hang on a little bit longer, maybe things will get better. If I just exhibit more behaviors, if I just work on myself, they'll figure it out. And that's just generally not the way it works. I've always said that I've kind of hated Paige and myself as a couple on the internet, because I think that for a lot of people, we give them false hope. I need people to understand that we're the exception, not the rule. And that the stories that we latch onto the most tend to be the exceptions, not the rules. Now, I'm not saying you can't be the exception. In fact, I believe that anyone can be. It's just a matter of, do you want to do the work to do it? Do you have those kinds of tools? Is your brain set up that way that you have enough humility to actually change and to do something different with your life? I remember when I was in treatment, they started to give me stats. I'm a stats guy. I love stats. And I was in a room with 20 people in it. And they said, in 1 year, only one of you will be sober statistically, and one of you will be dead. I just remember looking around the room and thinking, sucks to be the rest of you, with no shame whatsoever. And they were actually correct about that, by the way. Since then, though, it's interesting. I've talked to, I think there's 4 of us now, me and 3 others that are sober. I'm the only one that stayed sober the entire time. There were others that had went back and forth. And after a few different battles, with treatment and sobriety and some consequences, they finally got sober. I know that at least 3 people are dead in that group, at least. The rest of them, I'm not sure. I know one guy's still out and about, and he's always in trouble. we're Facebook friends, and like every time I turn around, he's posting some wild shit, and he's just been in jail or something like that. But your biology is going to want to connect. You're going to want to think that someone's the exception, but at some point, biology has to give way to reality. And you have to look at the facts of who this person is based on what they're showing you, not what you wish they would be. And I think here's the gut punch, is that after everything you've been through with them, after everything you've tolerated, after everything you've excused, after everything you've forgiven, do you honestly believe they would have done the same for you? That's a question to ask yourself. I have heard this straight from people in addiction. I've said this myself. I would have left her for half the shit that I did. And that's just the truth. The way that I acted, the things I said, the lies I told, I wouldn't tolerate that. I just wouldn't. I think that there's some validity to that. I am forever grateful that I was able to get a second chance and seize that chance when there was still time left between us. But I don't think I deserved it. Not for a second. And I'm not sure I would have given the same grace. I don't think that makes you a weak person if you have done that for somebody, because you want connection, and there's nothing wrong with wanting connection. And I don't want anyone leaving this feeling shame, like, damn, I should really just give up, huh? Not necessarily. I just want you to be able to discern the difference and the truth. And I think that that's kind of the delusion we fall into, like that, you know, I would have left her for half the shit that I did, is that we believe that we're in a partnership, when in reality it's one-sided. It's believing that loyalty like goes both ways when it's only flowing really from you. And so, yeah, there are reasons that we stay. There's science, there's biology, there's connection, there's survival. But at some point you have to start asking the question, like, why am I still here? And start asking, why are they still here? That's a whole nother topic, isn't it? Why are they still here? I can speak for this firsthand. I was still there because it was comfortable, because I could get away with shit, because I could fuck up and I had support. And I'm just being really honest right now. I did love her deeply. The way that I describe love, I don't think the way that she would feel love, the way that we would generally define love. It's a very, very immature sort of love, but I did love her. I really did. I wanted to be a better man for her. But I was there because it was comfortable for me. I was there because it was easy. I was there because I got so much from that relationship, that version of us that existed all those years ago. What was she getting from it? Do you know? I don't think that makes her codependent. I don't think that makes her anxiously attached. I think that makes her trustworthy and listening to the words of a bullshitter when she probably shouldn't have. And again, I'm grateful that I was given another chance, but we'll never sit here and say like I deserved it or that everyone deserves it. I think that if you're willing to give that, that's grace, right? That's a gift that you're given that you don't necessarily earn. And that's the beautiful thing about grace. So let's talk about when it's time to leave. By the way, I'm going to do my best to get through this thing in less than an hour. I kept you guys in my rambling for an hour 15 earlier in the week. Let's try to get through this thing in like an hour or even less, right? Let's even less possibly. So when it's time to leave, let's talk about when it's actually time to leave. And I'm going to be blunt here. If there's abuse, whether that's physical, emotional, psychological, you do not need more justification. That's enough. That is enough. And that is okay. This stuff can damage you long term. And if you've got children in that home, it can damage them long term. I just recently reached out. I hate to tease guests that we don't necessarily have booked yet, but I reached out to a child psychotherapist who's going to talk, hopefully on the show, about the effects on children of living in an addicted home and what happens when you separate. Is it better or worse for them to get them out of that environment, even though they are down one parent? Really interesting take on that. I'm hoping from a professional, but at the very least, we will have Annie on, Annie Parker, Annie the Safe Parent. Oh my God, we got quoted in Annie's book, y'all. She tagged us in a story on Saturday. I'm sitting there building like this little puzzle thing I got, and we get tagged, and there's a quote of us in this paragraph in her new book that's going to be coming out. So we'll be sure to promote that thing and have her on whenever the time comes. But Annie's a firm believer that there is such a thing as creating a healthier environment, even though you are sans one parent. Okay, so again, if there's been abuse, you do not have to justify that or excuse that. I think that that is plenty to walk. This stuff generally gets worse over time, not better. If they do get better, they would be the exception, not the rule. I want you to get 20 pennies and throw them on the ground. Okay. One of those pennies will be better. Do you really think that you're that penny? Your relationship is that penny? I mean, if you're a gambling type, maybe. I'm not saying crush all the hope you have. I'm just saying be realistic. And if you're in a position where there's actually damage being caused, and this can be long-term, this can really affect you. This can affect the way that you show up as a parent, the way you show up for yourself, your own mental health and safety, as Annie will talk about when she comes on, the point where you're thinking about self-harm. You need to get out of that situation. You need to get out of that situation. I will also go as far as to say this. If you are new in a relationship with somebody and you do not have the ties of a family or shared finances or children, now is the best time to get away from that person if they're abusive. Sooner the better. The longer you stay, the harder it gets. So a lot of times we'll get messages from people who've been together like 5 months, and I want to tell them, like, you have got to get going. You cannot stick around in that. And now if there is mention of physical abuse or emotional abuse, things like that, I will say straight up, I think it's best that you get to safety straight up. I don't know what else I could say as another person. I don't hold advanced degrees in this, but if that were my daughter, and that's another question you have to ask yourself. If your son or your daughter came to you and they asked you the same question that you may have asked us or asked someone else in your life, or maybe asked someone in the community, what would you tell them? And be honest with yourself. What would you tell them? If your kids are growing up in fear, that's enough. If your health is deteriorating because of the stress and that environment, that's enough. If years of promises and the relapses and I'll do better next time have led you nowhere, that's enough. And I don't care how many apologies they throw at you. I don't care how many tears, and abuse and destruction don't get wiped away with a good cry and a hug. They just don't. That stuff takes years to rebuild for you to feel safe again. You might get this temporary like dopamine rush where you start to feel like everything's okay because you've repaired that fight. But remember, that stuff has lasting damage. And over time, it will deteriorate your sense of self and your sense of safety. And that is psychology. That is not an assumption I'm making. This is what happens to people who stick around in abusive situations. So I think the problem is so many people rationalize the past and they rationalize the red flags. They'll say, like, well, they were drunk. We've talked about what our thoughts are when it comes to the addiction. They didn't mean it. They're so sweet when they're sober. Or they were just stressed out. They didn't actually mean what they said. Stop asking if they mean it and start asking if you can live with it. I think it's what you have to do. Can I live with this? Regardless of the reasons that someone's doing what they're doing. The PTSD, the things they've been through, whatever it might be, the trauma that they've experienced that has led them to a place where they treat other people this way. Can you live with it? Simple question to ask yourself. And in those situations, I think it's pretty clear. You go. Just going to say it. Should I stay or should I go? In those situations, it were me, it were my daughter, I would say, baby girl, you got to get going. This is dangerous. This is not good. This is really, really bad. This is going to hurt you long term. This is dangerous for children. You cannot stay in that environment. You cannot stay in that environment. Now, something that we didn't talk about in our first episode, and I feel like should be talked about a bit more, is what do you do if you can't leave? And I think that this is where it gets complicated. And it's because everyone can't just walk away. And I'm done tiptoeing around that truth. I think that everything has become so black or white. Right? It's either you get like the Southern Baptist types that are like, you stay together no matter what, you made a vow, the end. Or you get the radical, like all men are evil type that's get out of that relationship no matter what. That's ridiculous. Why are you staying around in that? And like neither one is helpful to someone who cannot leave. For some people, leaving is a privilege, and we have got to stop talking to people like that is always an option. For some people, it is going to be an emotional hurdle they get over, and then they can go out and find a way to support themselves or to get to safety. And they've got resources and they've got family, but that's not the case for everybody. Some of you are stay-at-home moms with no income. Some of you are tied to your spouse by immigration status. Some of you are buried under religious or cultural pressure. Some of you would actually be putting your kids in worse situation if you left today. If you left today with absolutely nothing, you have no car, you're nowhere near family, where would you sleep tonight? Like you've got children with you. Like these are realities for people. And I think that we have to acknowledge and support the people who can't go just as much. And like, this is not always an easy question for them. It is not black or white. And so what do? Do you just stay miserable forever? No, you learn the long game of detachment. This is something that I have a lot of experience in. If you can't leave today, you can start leaving in little bitty pieces, quietly, slowly, not with the suitcase, but with your expectations. Your expectations are going to have to change about the situation that you're in. So I have been in a situation sort of like this with a family member of mine. And it's been really, really, really difficult over the years. I have been like a caretaker, like an emotional support animal for this person for most of my life. From the time I was 13, maybe on, and this person is much, much older than me. They've struggled with drugs and alcohol and mental health and trauma and PTSD and a lot of other things. And so I've got all the same feelings you have about this person. I need to be more empathetic. I need to, if no one else is there for them, I need to be there for them. I can't abandon them like everyone else has in their life. And I gave this thing now 20 years plus or so of waiting for this person to be different. I have gone from one extreme of just, this is the way life is. And like, I'm cool with it and I'm happy with it. And like, everything's fine. And there's really not a problem, to recognizing and kind of waking up that this isn't right. And then when I was in recovery, really understanding that this isn't right, and kind of some of the behaviors and the guilt tripping and the broken promises and the lies and the deceit and the manipulation, and the stuff starts to hurt you and you really start to understand right from wrong. And then getting to the point where I'm financially tied to this person in some ways. And I could not go in that moment, because in doing so, I would put my family at risk. We have bills to pay. We have a roof over our heads. We have, like the kids are in extracurriculars that they love. Like if I just cut all that off because I don't want to deal with it, to me, it felt selfish and it was really, really tough. So I had to learn the long game of detachment. I had to learn how to adjust my expectations of this person so that they couldn't hurt me in the same way that they used to. And it was really difficult and it was not easy, but I'm going to teach you how to do it. My fear in not bringing this up the first time is that this is going to be what you choose to do. I want to make this clear that this is only for people who can't. And if you need to think really hard about that if you're one of those people that can't. I hope that you can discern what that means for you. But what I would hate is for someone to have to learn the lesson that I did the really hard way, because I could have left long ago. I could have cut ties and I could have saved myself a lot of torment. I could have saved myself a lot of trouble. But let's just frame it in the context of your spouse, this person that is showing up and they're lying to you, they're relapsing, they're spending all the money. You're struggling because this person is kind of weighing down the family, not to mention not helping out around the home. They're not really a present parent. You can't depend on them emotionally, because let's be real, you can't always be the strong one. This is something I ran into a lot, was like, where's my me? Like, I need support sometimes. I need someone to help me. And where's my me? Like, I need someone too. You can't always be the bigger person. You can't do that forever. You can't. Not expecting things to change, you can't. But if you can't go either, then what do? We're going to have to split the difference. So in the context of your spouse, when I expect you to be loving or sober or reliable or present, and you've never actually really shown me those things consistently over time, I'm essentially setting myself up to be crushed. And I do have some part in that. I think that some people can take this message to an extreme. Like, this is basically the basis of what I hear a lot from people who've worked through Al-Anon, is like, that's the whole basis. But like, this shouldn't be the point. Like, they never considered leaving as an option. And I'm telling you, it absolutely is. This is the last case, like worst case scenario. This is a last resort here. This is for people who couldn't go. And you think about when that program was written back in the 30s, women couldn't leave. They didn't have options. They couldn't even open bank accounts. You barely vote. So what else were they to do? They had to learn this stuff. We have options now, but not everyone. Not everyone. Still to this day, there are situations where you can't. I think you could talk to anyone and you would say, oh, you can totally go. And then you would explain more and more about your situation and they would go, huh, yeah, you might have a point. And so then what do you do, right? But I think that I've heard this communicated and it pissed me off when I heard the quote because I had thought of this years before the quote became popular. But it's that expectations are resentments in the making. I think that the quote that got popular was that expectations are premeditated resentments, which is a little bit cleaner than my version, but it's true. Expectations are resentments in the making. They are the bones of resentment. Our expectations of other people, when not met, set us up to be crushed, period. It's like ordering something from a restaurant that doesn't serve it. If you're going to Taco Bell every Friday and asking for a cheeseburger, they're going to tell you, I'm sorry. But if you expect them to have a cheeseburger every week, you're going to be let down. They're just going to be like, we don't serve cheeseburgers here. I don't know what you want from me. This is kind of what it's like whenever you're asking these things from someone who's not offering them. If you're asking someone to be loving and present and patient and a good father and loyal and financially responsible and sober and working a program of some kind, whatever that looks like, and they're not offering this, what's going to happen? You're going to be let down. And if we can't change them, then what can we change? We can alter our expectations. I just want to be clear that you're not wrong for wanting any of this stuff. But if you keep expecting it, you're guaranteeing yourself pain. That's the truth. So at some point, you have to teach yourself, if I can't get what I want, I'll have to teach myself to want what I can get. And think about what that actually means. If you can't get what you actually want, you're going to have to teach yourself to be okay with what you can. That's tough. It's not pretty. It will kill a part of you that you will never get back. It will kind of crush your spirit a little bit. It'll kill parts of your dreams. It'll harden you. It will change you. But it will also keep you alive long enough to survive this season. And that's why I want to be clear that this is like a survival skill. This isn't something you should take lightly. This isn't something you should try if you do have options. When I shifted the expectations of that person in my life that I'm talking about, their chaos stopped surprising me, but their chaos didn't stop. They kept doing the same things they had always been doing. But now my response was different because that's exactly what I expected. But if that's what I expect from someone I love, what happens is your heart just gets hardened by it. You lose hope. You're essentially putting a fire extinguisher on your hope. At that point, you've accepted they are what they are and they're not going to change. And I just have to accept that. But I can't go right now. So I'm going to have to quietly quit this relationship. I'm going to have to quietly quit hoping. I'm going to have to quietly stop thinking that things are going to be different. It doesn't mean also, hang on, I'm sticking to the outline, remember? Sticking to the outline here because I'm about to get off track. But I think when you do this, it doesn't take away the sting completely from someone not meeting your expectations. So like when I caught them in a lie, I'd still be like, that motherfucker, really? Okay, well, that tracks. You know what? That tracks. That's exactly what I would figure from that person. I'm not crushed like, oh my God, how could they do that to me? Like, why would you lie to me? Like, I love you and I trust you and I'm vulnerable with you. How could you do that? And spend an hour telling them why the way they behaved is unacceptable. That was gone. So I saved a lot of my energy, but what I traded was a part of my innocence that you'll never really get back. So the sting doesn't go away. Think of it like being outside in a cold, windy day with nothing but a t-shirt on. Like this t-shirt I'm wearing right now. It's going to be cold as shit. If I put a windbreaker on, it's still cold, but it stings a little bit less. But it will never be like wearing a puffy down jacket, which would represent someone doing just what they're supposed to and treating you the right way, right? Having your expectations met. It's just, you're making do with what you have. And that's kind of the spirit of doing this. And the truth is that you can live in this place for years. You can survive this way. You can detach in that way. And I think detach is the wrong word, because detachment is not a tactic. It's actually a result of doing this, of lowering your expectations. You will, in fact, detach from that person. You will. You'll accept them for what they are, and you'll still love them, but not in that way, not in the same way you used to. More of a pity type of love, not an admiration type of love. More of a sad, somber, I wish things could have been different sort of love, not, oh my God, I can't wait for our future sort of love. Not the fun kind of love, if that makes sense. So you're just going to get by. You're going to survive. And then one day you're going to snap. You're not going to snap in rage. You're going to snap in freedom, though. In my situation, it was, oh God, let me think now, 4 to 5 years of doing this before I got to the point where it's like every day your expectations get a little bit lower until you just stop giving a shit. And then at some point something will happen. You'd be like, well, I don't have anything to lose anyway. But I'm a slow learner maybe, and it just took me a really, really, really long time to learn that lesson. But you can survive in the midst of it. And this is, I think, what's unique about Tufo is that we support everyone in all different phases of what this looks like, whether you're staying to rebuild, whether you're going because that's the best thing for you, or whether you can't. You will be loved, you will be supported, and we will have content and conversations for you no matter what stage that you're in, no matter where you're at. We've done episodes on all 3 different scenarios and even some in between. And we're going to love you no matter what. We understand wholly that there are reasons that you make the decisions that you make. We're just here with you. Like, I don't want to be anyone's reason for doing anything necessarily. If anything at all, I hope that it's just a space for you to listen and to reflect and to think about what is the right decision for you. Like, that's the whole purpose of our course. It's about reclaiming you and your sense of confidence, and your sense of safety to know what's best for you. But I got to the place where I just didn't care anymore about the outcome. I wasn't scared anymore. And I think that's when people finally leave. It's not because someone told them to. It's because they've already emotionally left based on those expectations. So if you're in that place where leaving isn't possible yet, here's how to stay sane while you survive. Number 1, boundaries. Do it anyway. Separate money. Don't cover up lies. Keep rules clear in your home. This is what I will and will not engage with. This is what I will and will not tolerate. Next, you're going to have to start building a parallel life. This is what Paige was doing with me. Paige was going through a short period of this, and I got so lucky, man. So lucky that I was able to grab it and start to change before she completely let go. But this is where she was at. She was building a parallel life. Her own hobbies, her own interests, her own friendships, her own community, and nothing that has to do with their addiction. This is about you and your life. And I think that a lot of wheelies have come to this place where they're very much in this space where they're kind of in between the two. And they're kind of quietly, emotionally, day by day, dropping their expectations in their relationships. At the same time, they're starting to build a parallel life, slowly but surely. New hobbies, new friendships, a new community. Sound familiar? And it's not about their partner, it's about them. And what that's doing is it's slowly building confidence in you that everything is going to be okay at some point. Regardless, it's going to be okay. And you'll know that in your heart of hearts, and you won't make a decision one way or the other until you know that. And I think you also have to have some non-negotiable self-care here. Working out, journaling, therapy, prayer, something that's yours, right? Something that belongs to you. This could be your workouts. This could be anything that's self-care, right? And self-care is different than self-indulgence. Oh, which, by the way, we're doing a really fun self-indulgence challenge right now. We had this awesome wheelie, this listener who suggested that we do this challenge for people where they do something from their childhood. Bring back something you did when you were a kid and do it. We had one listener bust out an MFing pogo stick. It's the greatest thing ever. We've had people, what was the other one? We've had people dancing. We've had people traveling. We've had people doing picnics. We've had people singing, and someone did a chicken dance. It's the greatest thing ever. But something that belongs to you. This is you reclaiming you, right? This is you remembering that that you matter and you exist. And then this is sort of you rebuilding self-love. I think it's insane to think that this is like it's a linear thing at all. It's really not. Like it goes up and down, and it takes a very long time, and over time you will make differences, but it's not like overnight. I think that everyone wants this overnight solution. And that's what I think stay or go is. It's like this black or white solution, when that's generally not the way it works. We had a woman on our show not that long ago about giving her story about what it was like to leave an abusive relationship where there was alcoholism. And she talked very frankly about the amount of time that this took. And this took years. She was planning and plotting for years. She was dropping her expectations for years. That's the way it really looks. But no one talks about it because that's not clickbait worthy. That's not the stuff that goes viral, because it includes nuance, and nothing with nuance goes viral, which is why we will never go mega viral, because we generally include nuance in our statements. I will never sit here and just give like some stupid, like divisive comment. I mean, I don't know. I say that. I've done that some degree of that sometimes for driving engagement. A clever edit of a video or something like that. But there's always nuance if you go listen to the actual episode of where that came from. But that's why we'll never go viral, because the fact of the matter is that life is gray and it's not black or white. And there's so much nuance. With the exception of abuse, I will never tell anyone, just leave, just go, get the hell out of there. What's wrong with you? Why are you being so stupid? Because it doesn't work that way. I think you also have to have these micro escapes. I was going to say the difference between self-care and self-indulgence. See how I get off track? How I do that shit? I go on a tangent and just disappear. Good God, man. Self-care is stuff that you generally don't want to do. This is like doctor's appointments. Like Paige went to see a new PCP today and got blood work and all kinds of stuff like that done. It's visiting with, getting a yearly physical, or getting checkups on, like, get a colonoscopy, OBGYN visits. This is mammograms, which, by the way, I've had one, and that is the most painful shit in the world. I had a lump like right on my nipple, and I didn't know what it was. It was left over from puberty. I forget what it's called, but I don't know. But either way, they stuck my little tiny man boob in this thing and squeezed the hell out of it. So I understand your pain. I can only imagine what your pain is like. If you're bigger than me, which is like A cup, probably. I probably got a solid A cup right now. I've been working out, so doing my best. But anyway, it's stuff like that. Self-indulgence is the fun stuff, right? The micro escapes. It's walking, it's the books, it's headphones, anything that gives you just a moment of relief. And I think you have to quietly, slowly build an exit plan, just like our guest did. You have to save, you have to learn, keep your options open. Even if you never use it, I think it gives you your dignity back in a lot of ways, and it kind of helps empower you. I think we've covered that pretty well, and I hope that you know that it's okay to stay. Just know that it's going to be different, and it's going to be a process of dropping your expectations over time. Now, we had a guest at one point. Her name was Abby Eckel. I think you guys probably remember her. She's a content creator. She's real fun. She's got some hot opinions about stuff. She's incredibly smart. She is sharp as shit. She's a feminist content creator. She does some political stuff too, but we don't politics. I just like her partnership and her relationship takes a lot of the time. She's a real advocate for a lot of women. But either way, she if you go to her profile, she's got a link tree, and she's got some free guides that you can download. And I want to cover up one of them really quick. She's got one that sounded like the perfect thing. So shout out Abby. Shout out Abby Eckel right here. I'm using her guide. I'm looking at it right now. It's called the Liberation Checklist. And this is, I think, essentially what it is. It's a way to release your expectations and some actual practical ways to do that. So she has what's called the morning reset. Take 2 minutes to visualize your day as if you're handling everything independently. In order to do that, that means you have to release expectations that someone's going to assist. Fair? Next is identify 3 potential expectation traps that might arise today. If you expect your partner to do something that they don't typically do, that is an expectation trap that you can fall into. Let's say it's a domestic duty. The trash needs to be taken out. This sumbitch never takes the trash out. But like a normal person, you would expect someone who sees the trash full to take the trash out. Remember, your expectation's not wrong. It's just that your expectation of them is such that they are never going to meet it. And they've shown you that. So instead of getting triggered by it when you see it, go ahead and plan on it. This is what you have to do. I'm going to plan for them to not help me with some domestic duty today. I'm going to go ahead and plan on it. Go ahead and break your heart first thing in the morning so it doesn't have to happen later. And then you flip out on them and you say something really angry because you can't help yourself, because they need to be taught a lesson, right? That's the way we feel in these situations. And then you waste so much energy doing that. You waste so much energy. Now you got to have an hour or 2 hour fight when you've got other things you need to handle. It could be an emotional type of expectation trap. You expect them to ask about your day and to give a shit about the things that you care about. You expect them because it matters to you, it should matter to them. If they've never done this, let's stop expecting them to. Let's go ahead and break our heart first thing in the morning. So it can be something functional. It can be something emotional. It can be something around recovery in general. If this is someone that's never attended a meeting and they've never shown any willingness to engage in therapy, if they've never shown any willingness to be sober, but they say that they do, remember, their words and actions have to match for there to be an expectation, I think, that could be met. Don't be shocked when you find the bottle. Don't be shocked when you smell it on their breath. Don't be shocked when they miss their SoberLink test or whatever it might be. You go ahead and get that out of the way now. Journal those things. Identify 3 of them. Go and get them out of the way. Next, plan your schedule without factoring in partner assistance. Kind of like the first one, but this time you're actually going to plan it. Okay, pretend I'm a single parent today. All right. In doing that, you're releasing your expectations that they are going to be your partner, that they're going to help you, that they're going to be there for you through this. You have to release that expectation. Set one personal boundary you'll maintain regardless of another's actions. Remember, this is not mine. I got it from another creator, and I should have looked her up. Gosh, it's rude. She said that a boundary is something that you tell someone that you are going to do, and they change nothing. Something you're going to do. So what is that going to be? If you drink, I am leaving. I'm getting a hotel room. If you drink, I'm going to go stay with my sister. Whatever it will be, because I will not be in that environment. If you disrespect me, I'm going to another room. If you can't leave that day, whatever it might be. If you spend any more money that we don't have, I am separating our finances. You're protecting yourself with that boundary. You're not asking them to change their behaviors. Remember, because this is about dropping expectations. Next is going to be around household management. Create one system this week that functions without partner input. What could that be? Is there something that you've been relying on them or hoping, expecting them to do something, pick something up? Create one system this week that functions without partner input. This is a bit of a privileged take maybe, but let's say that you're both working full time and they do not help with anything around the house. I think a way just to get my business brain going here for a second, kind of on the spot, a way that you can kind of scale help is if you've got kids, you can create a chore list for them and you can compensate them. This functions without your partner's input. This is between you and those kids, and your kids will fold laundry, or they might do the dishes, or they might clean their rooms, stuff that you would ordinarily have to do. And it doesn't involve your partner whatsoever. It's between you and them, or it's between you and a service. If it's a laundry service, let's say that they're not mowing the yard and you're like, I'm done with this shit. I'm hiring a yard guy with no input of yours. I'm doing this. I'm creating a system, right? A system operates independently of something. Like in a business, you have systems that operate, things we stick to. Your relationship can kind of work the same way whenever you're in one of these situations. Designate a solo zone in your home that you maintain exactly as you prefer. Your space. This office was kind of my space, and Paige has her space. I have no more space. Our space is now our studio. But Paige has what we call, she calls her Zen room. She picked out this really cool wallpaper to give this like foggy London look to it, and decorated it in a way with color furniture and the plants in a way that she feels like this is her space. It feels like her space. This doesn't have to be a room. This can be a corner where you read. This can be your closet. This can be any space. This could be your desk that you work on, but it is yours exactly as you prefer it. Okay. What this does, I think underneath it all, what Abby's trying to get at here is it builds some sort of independence from your partner. Next thing, we're going to establish a routine for essential tasks that doesn't rely on reminders or requests. Establish a routine. Remember, it's a routine for essential tasks that doesn't rely on reminders or requests of your partner. So what I think of here oftentimes, if I'm relying on someone else to do, I don't know, let's say that there's kids in sports, you can reach out to another parent on the team. Hey, can you get Billy or whoever to this game, back and forth? Maybe you switch services or something like that. But it's a routine for essentials like that. Man, I will always preach the wonders of a phone and the reminders app on a phone. I live by that thing, and a shared calendar. Man, everything that we have is organized in there. I'm all the time. I click that button on the side and I say, remind me to do XYZ at whenever, on whatever date. And if that weren't for that thing, I would never get by. All right. Next is identify one recurring task you'll stop asking for help with for the next 7 days. What's the task that you always fight over? What's the thing that you ask for assistance in? Or what's the thing in general that you're asking for from your partner? Let's stop for the next 7 days. Let's start to learn what it feels like to not rely on them for that. It builds independence, especially around the house. Emotional protection. These are some of the checklists. Notice when you feel resentment rising and pause before reacting. This is easier said than done. And I know a lot of you are quick-witted and you're really funny actually, but it's hard when you're funny and you're quick-witted to not let a zinger slip, just to donk on somebody. But do your best, because you have to rationalize, and what is the outcome of me saying that usually? Right? They're going to pour me shame. Now they're going to have some reason to blame you. This is going to be the next topic of therapy. It won't be the manipulation that caused that comment. It's going to be that comment that's the focus, and about how you're abusive too. Let's when we feel it, let's stop. Remember, I gave you tools for this actually, I think last week in the like how to be sober. That was Monday. Last episode, how to be sober, right? The pausing, the breathing, counting to 5 if you have to, whatever you have to do when you feel that rising up. Deep breath, stop yourself. Come and talk about it in the community. Text a friend about it. Do something other than bring it up to your partner. It gets us nowhere. Practice saying, I'll handle things myself without adding criticism. I'll handle it just like that. I think I'll handle it myself almost sounds passive aggressive to some guys probably. I know it would to me. I'd be like, oh, what do you mean yourself? Like I don't help. And then we're having a fight. Just say I'll handle it without adding any criticism, because you know the expectation is they're not going to do it. I'm going to have to do this myself. That should be your expectation, because that is actually the reality anyway. Acknowledge one way you've grown stronger through self-reliance in some way. What is one way that you've grown stronger through your self-reliance? In what way? Are you stronger than you ever thought? Are you more resilient than you ever dreamed you could be? Are you capable of so much more than you ever thought? Start to acknowledge those little wins. Journal them. Write this stuff down. Release one expectation that consistently causes disappointment. If this is around drinking and things like that, you can release that. This is who they are. They will do what they do. That is what they do. End of story. That's all there is to it. It's no more complicated than that. That's just what they do. They've given you that proof over time. Communication shifts. Oh my God, let's look at the clock. I effed it up again, but we're almost done. Communication shifts. Replace you should statements with clear announcements of what you'll do. Instead of you should, what you are going to do. It's different. When tempted to remind or nag, ask yourself, is this worth my emotional energy? That's one that I have to do. This is like when before you send the giant paragraph text, just replying, okay. That's maturity, right? Practice stating your needs directly without managing how they're met. This is what I need. I told you what I need. I don't expect you to do shit with it, but I told you. At the very least, I've told you. Because what do most guys say? If you just tell me, bullshit. We're not stupid. We can anticipate other people's needs, you know? Ask any guy that's ever played sports. It's what like half of team sports is about. It's anticipating the needs of the team in any given moment, or what someone might need. We're not incapable. We're just playing dumb. We're just playing dumb. Let natural consequences unfold without jumping in to fix situations. Again, you can find that list. All you have to do is put in your email address on Abby's Linktree. You will also get she'll put you on her mailing list, which is good stuff. And you'll get that free guide. It's really cool. Totally free. I don't think she would mind me sharing it. In fact, I'm sure she would love it in the hands of more people that really do need it. Okay, so what staying actually requires when it's a choice. We've told you a lot about this, what it looks like. I hope if you've learned anything from us, you have learned what we believe to be the bar, like the bar is low, the bare minimum for what rebuilding looks like. I don't think that I'm exceptional. Maybe I'm the exception to a handful of cases, but I'm not exceptional. There's a difference. I'm pretty sure there's a difference. I'm not exceptional. I do not believe myself to be exceptional. I think that the standard I've met can be met by literally anybody who's willing to put forth the effort. So let me make a distinction. What I just laid out was for people who can't leave right now. But if you're someone who's choosing to stay, that's a whole different conversation. If you're staying because you believe in the future, if you're staying because you've seen something to lead you to believe that there is a future, just understand this, is that sobriety alone is not enough. That is the bare minimum. That the bar is 6 feet under the ground. It's so low. If sobriety is just the very, very, very beginning of this. Sobriety is the ticket just to get to the door of let's repair this, let's heal this. What really matters is what comes after sobriety. And that's humility, that's growth, that's accountability, that's maturity, that's equal partnership. That's what saved my marriage. All that stuff is what saved my marriage, not just the sobriety. If I could act all those ways and drink, Paige wouldn't give a shit. It's not about the substance. It's about those behaviors and the way I wasn't showing up. She didn't stay because I got sober. She stayed because I showed up differently, because and over and over and over again, not just one time or for a month or for a year, like for a decade plus, man, a long time. It wasn't just words. It was proof. So nobody on the internet, no friend, no podcast, other podcasts, inferior podcasters, no friend or family member is actually going to be able to make this decision for you. Only you can. Should I stay or should I go? Only you can answer that question. And that's between you and your gut. And if you know it's time to go, my hope is that you'll find the courage to take that step, that you'll get to safety, that you'll do what's right for you in the best interest of you, your mental and physical health, and those that you are responsible for. And if you can't leave yet, I just want you to know that it's not completely lost. Like, you can survive, and it doesn't mean that it will just be completely miserable. You will still have moments where you're able to be cordial. You'll still have moments where you're able to have fun. You'll still have moments where you're able to live in that, compartmentalize like the good times and be okay with that, while still holding the expectation that this is the exception to our relationship. And I still don't expect more than this. You'll see what I mean when you start to do it. But I'm sure some of you are nodding right now going, yep, I've been doing this and I haven't even been realizing it. I've done exactly this. Well, I just want you to know that you're on the right track. It's not the life I would have chosen for anybody or for myself, but it is a way to survive. And I think that is valid, a very valid way to survive. And if you're choosing to stay, just remember, demand more than sobriety. Demand growth and maturity and accountability and honesty and forthrightness and shared values and compatibility. Like, above all, you got to have something in common. At the end of the day, it's not about just staying or leaving. I think the real betrayal is when you abandon yourself. Whether you stay, go, or sit in it, do not abandon yourself. You matter, your kids matter, your health matters, your sanity matters. And that's reason enough, I think, to make a decision. I hope I was a little more on point here this time and not so rambled. It feels like I was. And I hate that I have to follow some kind of an outline. It'd be easier if I had someone else to talk to, because I could flip through my notes while I'm talking and I wouldn't look like I'm just sitting here like rehearsing something. I promise you, I write the stuff that you hear here. This isn't like AI generated shit. This is like sitting down and thoughtfully going through stuff and thinking about it. I hope that you see that. Because so much shit's just become AI generated. And we're going to have an episode on that one day too. I'm looking for the right expert to really talk about this, about how it's going to do some interesting things here in the next 5 years even. It'll be a different world. But anyway, I hope that I've given you some kind of clarity. Should I stay or should I go? As it turns out, there are situations where, hell yeah, you should go. There's some situations, I don't think they're always, hell yeah, I should stay. But there are some situations where you should say, I can think of reasons to stay. And there are some situations where you can say, I have every reason to go, but I have to be sane in the moment. And I hope there's help there. Hope I've given you some kind of info that you didn't have before you flip this thing on. And that's why you keep showing up every week. And that's why you keep supporting the show. Hey, and if you want to support the show, we've got this new cool link. It's called Buy Me a Coffee, which I think is dope. a lot of people have wanted to give to the show, like they want to support us, which is really cool because we do have expenses. I mean, we have an editor, we have subscriptions, like more subscriptions than I can count. It's almost as bad as like our personal subscriptions for keeping the show going, and equipment and computers and lights and all kinds of stuff. We're looking at getting this cool neon sign for the back wall to make everything look prettier, easier on the eyes, right? Stuff like that costs money. So if you've ever wanted to contribute to the show and you don't have much, get us a cup of coffee. It's like $2, $3, right? Just one time. Or if you want to do a recurring one, that's cool too. Or if you're like, I'm not giving you shit, that's fine too. I love you anyway. It doesn't make a difference to me. We'll love you. We'll support you no matter what. We just appreciate you showing up. At the very least, if you could, leave us a review. That really does make the show more discoverable. Tell other people about it. Post us in your stories. Link the episode. Let people know. We've got this warrior on Reddit. And I know she is, and she's amazing. If you're listening, I love you. Thank you. She shares our show with people all the time. I think that's how Slurberlink actually found out about us. So if not for that listener telling someone about it, we wouldn't even have the funding to pay for an editor, who's also our friend. But he edits. He spends a lot of time, a lot of effort getting this thing done right. But yeah, I would appreciate just a review. Just, give us some stars. Tell people what you think. Let people know about the show. We're really trying to grow this thing, really trying to blow this up and make this a very, very common conversation that people are having. And we would love to be at the forefront of that then attracts more people, more talented people to this space to have conversations about this kind of stuff. And you can help us do that just by simple review, letting people know, shouting it out whenever you can, putting us in your stories, linking us, whatever you have to do. Put us in, if TikTok comments, tag us, whatever. We really, really appreciate it. So that's all I've got. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. Till next time, I'm Matt, and I'll see you.